Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica Gardner, owner of the Actors QS and a proud SAG-AFTRA member myself. I am proud to be here for tonight's conversation with a Tony, Golden Globe, and Emmy Award-winning actress and the star of the upcoming Redwood Highway, Ms. Shirley Knight.
How many people want to visit the Oregon coast?
After seeing this film, for those of you who
Amazing.
are watching online, you definitely will. Thank you so much for being here with us and sharing this with us. Yeah, it's on. Yeah, just bring it up. So you are originally from Kansas, right? Any Kansas people in the audience? No? Okay. Oh, right there. Great. Hi.
My cousin.
Your cousin. Hi. Thank you for being here. And I'm sure a lot of people don't know this about you. Maybe your cousin does, but you started off studying opera.
Yes.
Yes. And so what made you decide that you wanted to be an actor? Did that come after opera or before?
I didn't decide. It wasn't anything I was ever going to do. Where I grew up, I saw like 3 films as a child. So I didn't really have a connection to films. I saw a film that my mother wanted to see called The Dolly Sisters, which was a musical and was so amazing. And that was the first film that I said, oh, this is very interesting. Because I'd seen Bambi and The Wizard of Oz, you know, and that was it. So I didn't have a connection, and I had a connection to music because we had, this is before television, of course, and so we listened to the opera every Saturday from the Met. And everybody in my mother's family were very musical. My mother played the piano, and my sister and I sang at church, and, you know, all of that. And so, sorry. At any rate, so when I went to college at Wichita State University, and I was a junior, I helped put myself through school, working for the newspaper. And there was no such thing then. This is 1958, 57, 58. There was no acting classes at universities then. I think there were like 3 universities that had acting classes. But I knew that I had to learn about acting if I was going to sing. So I wanted to take a class in acting for my singing. I also wanted to get out of Kansas.
That's good motivation. That's good motivation.
Because when you live 1,500 miles from an ocean, your whole existence, once you hear about an ocean, is that you really want to see an ocean. And I really wanted to see an ocean. And anyway, it happened because at the newspaper where I taught, they got magazines that were sent to them all the time. And one of the ones that was sent was a magazine called Theater Arts Magazine. And they had an advertisement that for $200, you could go to the Pasadena Playhouse for 6 weeks, room and board, and study acting. And I thought, oh my goodness, I can do this. I had to get another job, and my parents gave me some money. And my job historically was interesting, my second job, because they had opened the first television station in Wichita, which was an ABC affiliate, and I was hired to write the cards for people to talk.
Cue cards?
Yes, the cue cards. At any rate, I got enough money, and I got on the Atchison, Topeka, and the Santa Fe, and my mother cried. And I went to the Pasadena Playhouse, and they put you in 3 groups. People who had done acting before, and people who they thought had potential, and people who were in the lower group, and that was me. because I knew nothing, absolutely nothing. But my group, as it happened, I was very good at crying, but I didn't know this. I mean, I didn't know that I could cry just like that, you know. And so they put us in a play. It was called The House of Bernarda Alba. And I played the youngest one because I looked about 15. And anyway, I played the youngest one who hangs herself and cries. And so there was a man there. There were people there who came to see potential actors, I guess, you know, and there was a young man, who thought I had potential, and he took me to his agency. Is this boring?
No.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for telling us all this.
I get so bored with my own life that I think, you know, at any rate, he took me to his agency, and now the agency was called the Kurt Frings Agency. Does that mean anything to anyone? No. He was the main agent for women in Hollywood. He handled Elizabeth Taylor, Grace Kelly, Audrey Hepburn, even Marie Saint, just all the working actresses at that time. And so this young man worked for him and took me in to meet the boss. And the boss looked at him and looked at me and said, "Why do we want her?" Now, I was this skinny girl who looked like 15 and wore very thick glasses. And I wasn't even listening to them because I had taken an art appreciation course at university. And there was a painting on the wall that was, I thought, a Gauguin. And I knew who that was because I'd just taken this class. And I was staring at this painting, just staring at it. And Mr. Frings said, "Do you like that?" And I said, "Is it real?" Because I couldn't conceive. And of course it was real. And I think that might have charmed him a little bit. And he said, "Take off your glasses, come tomorrow, wear your prettiest dress, I'll see what I can do." And he took me, because it was him, you understand, he took me to MGM, and they offered me the standard contract for 6 months at $400 a week. $400, this was a massive amount of money.
Had you acted for him, or he just saw you and...
No, and they, no, I hadn't done anything except he, you know, and what they would do, you have to understand in the contract system, is they would try you out for 6 months, put you in, you know, something, a little part in something, and if you were decent, they'd hire you for another 6 months, or you know, or not, or they'd dump you. Well, all I thought was, oh, I can go to UCLA and I can finish my degree, and I'll have all this money. Because I had no idea that anybody would think I was fit for this job. So anyway, they offered me this contract. Then he took me to Warner Brothers Studios, and they offered me the same thing. And it was because he was who he was. You know, they just took it. They said, "Oh, well, she must be okay because Kurt Frings is bringing her in." My goodness. So I had my choice, and he said, "I think you should go with MGM. They're bigger, they're better, they do more expensive films, they're blah, blah, blah." And for some reason, and I guess, you know, like the girl in the film, I guess I must have had some vision of something, because I said, "You know, I feel more comfortable at this place," and that was Warner Brothers. And they put me in, you know, Maverick and all these things, and then one day, after about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, I was told by the casting director to go to see this man named Delbert Mann, who was directing a film called The Dark at the Top of the Stairs, and there was the role of a 15-year-old girl in it, and I got the job. And I guess I was okay because they nominated me for an Oscar, you know. And I got to go to the Oscars, and my father was my date, and he sat next to Shirley Temple. Now, I was named after Shirley Temple, of course, as was Shirley Jones, as was Shirley MacLaine. Anybody that was born at that time was named after Shirley Temple. So I'm sitting there all night at the dinner table thinking, Dad, please, please don't tell her. Thousands and thousands of people. There were 4 or 5 in my own teeny little school named Shirley. Please don't tell her, please don't tell her. Of course, eventually, he turned to her and said, you know, I named my daughter after you. And I was like, oh. Anyway, so that's how it all started.
But I know that you studied under Lee Strasberg. So when did that happen?
That happened
Thank you.
because of Geraldine Page and sorry. No, I'm sorry. And Paul Newman. Because I was loaned out from, right after Dark at the Top of the Stairs, I was loaned out to MGM to do Sweet Bird of Youth opposite Paul Newman. And yeah. So, my heart. And what happened was Geraldine Page and Rip Torn and Mildred Dunnock and Paul, they seemed to know something that I didn't know. You know, they seemed to have something that I didn't quite understand. A kind of comfort, a kind of seriousness about their work. Because I still was, even though I was taking classes and so on, I still didn't really feel like I belonged in a certain way, you know. And what happened was they suggested that I go to New York and study with Lee Strasberg.
MGM did. The studio did? Yeah.
And so because of them, he saw me and put me in his private classes, and I started studying with him. And at that time, the actor studio was incredibly difficult to get into. You couldn't just be a member of the actor studio. Sometimes now they've changed that, which is annoying for those artists like myself. But anyway, what was the point? Oh, so I studied with him privately in his private classes for 2 years. And the whole time, by the way, I was working and, you know, doing things like the group and all that, and working with Sidney Lumet and all those fancy people. And then I auditioned for the studio. Lee said I could audition after the 2 years, and so I auditioned, and I auditioned 3 times before I got in. Wow. Yeah, but what happened as a result of that, and learning and understanding what I was doing, I was cast in The Three Sisters that Lee Strasberg directed, and the sisters were Geraldine Page and Kim Stanley, and you know, it was another learning experience that I can't be more grateful for. I mean, I also learned something. There's a certain frustration that you have if you only do film or television. because you don't go through the process. And the process is a very lengthy one. It takes a very long time to understand the complexity of a character. And one of the things that happens, I think, if you only, for example, do film and television, is you get frustrated. The best way I can explain it, and please don't think I'm rude by what I'm going to say, but you do the scene and the director says, cut, print, and you really want to say, excuse me, I haven't come yet. I mean, it's truly coitus interruptus. I mean, and I think, was that rude? I'm sorry.
It was amazing.
It's so accurate. I'm sorry. It's just so accurate. So anyway, by doing theater, you know, I think that is my greatest joy, and also I think my greatest work. Honestly, there's one film that I feel that is really amazing work on my part, and that's Dutchman, and that's because I did the play for 7 months, and I knew that woman. I knew who she was. You know, I could be her in a second. Anyway, I don't know. What else do you want to know?
Yeah. So, would you say that you have a specific method to your acting? Would you say it comes completely from Strasberg, or have you sort of?
I think it comes from a lot of things, and there are certain things that I know absolutely, and that is that. How can I put this really clearly? There's only one pure state of acting, of great acting, only one pure state. And that is after you have done all your massive homework, you have to be in a place where you don't know, you haven't read the script, you don't know what the character is doing or feeling. You don't impose anything on the material. You allow the material to speak to you. And you are in the moment of it. You're in the moment. It's the difference between the audience being in a state of comfort instead of a state of anticipation, because the reason they're anticipating and on the edge of their seats is because you don't know what's going to happen, so they don't know what's going to happen, so they're not comfortable. You don't want them to be comfortable. And I think a lot of actors, and it seems to be kind of prevalent now, and it's a bit worrying to me, are imposing things on the material and deciding what they're going to do. And I'm sure if I do this scene really, really well, I'll be nominated for an Oscar. I mean, literally, I think their concentration is not on, I guess, being absolutely free, and not caring at all what is happening. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. Because I'm nervous.
Yeah. Well, that was a great answer. Thank you for that. I'm like drawn in. Well, my question seemed silly. That was really good. My next question was going to be, because we're here at the SAG Foundation, do you remember how you got your SAG card? But I'm guessing that probably it was all in the studio system.
The studio.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just a
Yeah.
whole other different kind of way of. How are you at auditioning? Or how
Horrible.
were you?
Horrible.
Yeah? Uh-huh.
Horrible. And in fact, we're talking, how long have I been acting? Too long?
A while.
A very long time. I only got one job in my whole career that I auditioned for, and it was the only time I was fired. This is the God's truth.
Okay.
The God's truth. So now when people come in and they say, do you mind reading? I said, I can't. I can't, because if I do, I won't get the job. I mean, I'm just outspoken about it now. I'm awful. I'm absolutely dreadful. I am a brilliant actress. I can say that because I have worked so hard and so long and done so much work with so many amazing people. But I cannot audition for caca.
Why do you think? Why is that? Why is it? Is it the nerves? Is it the?
No, it interrupts the artistic feeling. Mm-hmm. It's unnatural.
No, it's very unnatural.
It's unnatural because what they're asking you to do is to be something you can't be. You can't possibly be because you don't know anything about that person. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's no accident, by the way, that a lot of film actors mainly play themselves because it's comfortable. You know what I mean? It's easy, it's comfortable, and anyway.
Wow. Oh. So you don't do it?
Am I getting in trouble?
No.
Okay.
So you told us that your favorite, is this true that your favorite film role of yours was The Dutchman, just because you feel like you know that? You've also done a ton of television. What has been your favorite TV role?
You know, I was really fortunate. I've been fortunate my whole career, but I was really fortunate in the beginning because all of the movie stars who were no longer young were doing television. And I worked with Claude Rains, who played my father. I worked with Myrna Loy. I worked with so many amazing actors. And I learned so much from them. And it was all the live television.
Wow.
The very best television show that I ever did, I was very fortunate. I worked with Ingmar Bergman. And he wrote this piece called The Lie. And it is, if you can get it and see it, not because I'm in it, but it is so extraordinary. And I know that you can see it at the television and radio Academy, yes. I highly recommend it. It's just brilliant. Well, it's Ingmar Bergman, what can I say? I mean, just for me to be able to say, I worked with Ingmar Bergman is pretty amazing. Wow. I mean, it's like Tennessee, you know, I'm so fortunate. Anyway, that was amazing. And then I have to say, because I thought the piece was wonderful, and I felt that I really got this extraordinarily brave woman, Indictment, the McMartin trial, which was, that was a very good year for me. I won
Got an Emmy for that, right?
I won an Emmy for that. I won 2 Emmys in one night.
Wow.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? So anyway, those 2 pieces in terms of television.
Yeah, but you've also won 2 other Emmys, and they were for guest appearance in a television series. And you've done a lot of those too. And for someone who doesn't love auditioning because you're not able to create a character, sometimes I feel like people who are coming in and doing guest stars for TV shows can kind of feel that way, or in an environment where they are working all the time. My question is, do you have advice for actors who are coming, because clearly you've done so many and you've been successful at it. Do you have advice for actors coming in and doing guest spots?
Well, that's an interesting question. Work with good people.
Right.
I mean, number one. I mean, you know, you can't always. I mean, God knows I've done a lot of junk. Sorry, but it's true.
No judgment.
Not everything is wonderful. I would say don't be intimidated by the regular artists. You know that you are a part of the family, even if you're only a part of the family that week. You're part of the family. And most people treat you wonderfully. I mean, most people are wonderful, don't you find, in the world of acting? There are a few, but we won't talk about that. But yes, I would say, and do your homework. I mean, come in really, really, really prepared, because you know how. Sorry.
That's right. Yeah, I have one.
Here it is. Something about California at the moment.
Well, we had that wind last night that
nose
just kicked up everything.
But I would say, yes, really be prepared, and I guess also be prepared for the fact that they'll change all of the lines. So you have to get re-prepared. I don't know what else to say to that.
No,
but
that's
I'm
really
sure
great
there's
advice. What about theater? You've done so much theater. What's been your favorite theater role? Do you have a favorite role?
I do, and you know, something was so funny. I've been doing a lot of these, going around with the film to festivals, and I just did one in North Carolina, Wilmington, and there was a woman there, and she said, you know, why have you taken so much time off lately? And I was sort of thrown by that, and I said, well, what do you mean exactly? And she said, well, you know, film. And I said, oh, well, I've done 3 plays in the last 3 years, and I do a lot of plays, I do a lot of television, and so, and I've done 9, count them, 9 films that have never seen the light of day. But you still have to do them and work, you know? So, what was your question?
Theater role. Favorite role?
Theater. Okay. So I'm just going to quickly tell you, because this is kind of fascinating. The last 3 plays I did were the last plays that the men who wrote those plays did. The first one was Arthur Lawrence, and he wrote it and directed it at 94. And he had just directed, by the way, Patti LuPone's Gypsy, and then right after he did our play at 95, he directed the revival of, well, anyway, West Side Story. Thank you. Great. Anyway, so I did that, and then I went off to New Haven, and I did the last play that Simon Gray wrote, and I did it with Sam Waterston, and that was very nice. And then the last, very, very last play I did was the last play that Tennessee wrote, and it was called In Masks, Outrageous and Austere, and it was, Sophie saw it, it was quite wonderfully bizarre. And it was the last thing that Tennessee wrote, but it was, anyway, I won't go into it. But it was just interesting that the last, and I thought, so now I'm looking for another writer.
Yeah, like that.
You know, so I can continue this. Can I do the
But you'll have
last
to tell
play
him.
that you write?
Keep the streak going.
But in terms of work, I would say the John Hopkins play, Losing Time, was amazing. The Young Man from Atlanta was incredible. Kennedy's Children was amazing. And just I can't think of more because I've done too many.
Well, let's talk about this one. Let's talk about this film, The Redwood Highway, which everybody in our audience just saw. But for those of you,
Did you like it? Good. Yeah. I think I think it's so sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the thing about it. When I first read it, I said, it's so sweet. There's something kind of normal and sweet about it, and old-fashioned, I suppose, in a way. But I'd like to know what you guys think of it.
Let's do that.
I really would.
Comment. Sweet is the perfect word.
Hi, my name is Colleen. I thought it was wonderful the fact that that you get the writer and director and yourselves as actors brought in something modern. They brought in spirituality. You brought in visions from the past. I mean, you mixed in modern and you know, modern with the past. So I mean, it was a wonderful story in her journey and maybe how we view seniors and where we think they should be and how they want to be, on their own. And that she had something to prove and a journey to follow on her own for whatever reason. And she found her own maybe spirituality towards the end, and her granddaughter.
Did it feel like it was a spiritual thing for you? Is that what?
I did. And when you get older, of course, you go through so many changes that I've been going through a lot in the last, I would say, 4 to 5 years, where suddenly you think, oh, I'm older. And it's, I suppose, a very different thing to be, I mean, I think I'm 76. Am I 76 or 77? 77, right? Anyway, I was born in 1936, so
78.
I'm
Wow.
78?
Going
oh,
to
come
be.
on. No, I'll be 78. I'll be 78 in the summer, right?
Not till July.
That's accurate, right? Oh, well, anyway, I skipped a couple of years. I thought it was older. Darn it. It's too bad. But anyway, yes. Yes?
Oh, hi.
You've got your hand up.
My name's Raphael.
Raphael has a question.
I used to be so afraid when I was young to walk in the woods or anywhere. I wanted to. And then I'm watching this film, and I finally get the turn to being alone, to take chances, and do what I always wanted to do, but never did. So I saw myself in this film for years. My way or the highway.
For those who are watching at home who can't hear, he's saying
I love the line that said,
he saw himself in the film.
age is only a number.
Age is only a number.
Exactly what you can do if you want to. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah, it's a great message about
Thank you.
believing
Thank
in
you
yourself
very
and setting
much.
out
That is
something.
so sweet. Yeah, well, obviously, I think I'm younger than I am, so.
You weren't sure. Were there?
Yes. Yeah.
Shirley, what I really loved about this movie, there was so much quiet time with you, meaning watching you walk, watching you act within the theater of the forest. And I'm wondering what your process was with the director, because it was almost as if approaching a stage play or one-woman show in many parts of the film. Yet, as you discussed earlier, there's the coitus interruptus with stopping midway. But how did that balance? Because there seems to be some really just forced moments throughout.
Sure. The question is, for those who didn't hear, what the method was of shooting Redwood Highway and how you worked it out with the director.
Well, what was interesting is the director and the producer chose me, and I found that very moving. And when I first met them, I said, I'm curious why you chose me to do your film. And they were very honest, and it was wonderful. They said that they thought about a lot of other people, and there were a lot of agents who were sort of pushing other people to do the role. And when they sat down and looked at some of my work, and the fact that I hadn't done anything to myself, you know, sliced and diced, they felt I was the person to do the part, and that really moved me. And it was one of those rare occurrences in one's career where literally everything went right. For example, we needed rain, and it rained. I mean, you all know how rare that is, right? And it didn't just rain. I mean, it could have rained a little less when I was wearing the yellow poncho. I mean, I was like drowning. It was going back, and you know how rain can get, yeah. In spite of the yellow slicker. But I was very able, and they were so eager to get everything right. And things like, for example, that I found amazing. You know, they don't have a lot of money. Now, you all know what it's like to, Sandra will know most of all, what it's like to have to lay track. It takes up most of your day. Well, this cameraman was a flipping genius. And what he did is he took, you know those, Sophie, what are those things called when it's like one person with a horse and there's just the wheels at the back? What's it called? The trotters, yes. He took a trotter machine, cart, and he didn't lay one bit of track. He had this guy be a horse. And I mean, it was amazing. It was amazing. All those shots, that's what he did and used. And so every time I was walking and you saw all that stuff, that's what he used. And I was amazed also, by the way, when I saw the film, how beautifully photographed it is. He is amazing, and of course the scenery helps. It's like amazing scenery.
Good acting.
But everything was right. I mean, the shoes I wore, you know, they spent $400 on my walking shoes. Wow. And good thing too, because
Needed it.
You know, it's a lot of walking.
Oh.
But and their choice of actors and everything they did, it's just great. I mean, you know, I have like 2 or 3 little things, but that's it.
I have more questions about the film, but first I have to address Sophie. This is your daughter, right? Yes, who's also in the business, as is your daughter, Caitlin.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, that's so great. You're an actor, right? No? Writer. You're a writer.
Yeah.
Great.
Writer, but now I teach 4th grade.
She's a writer and teaches 4th grade. That's awesome. Thanks for being here. This is so nice. Back to the film. So there's a lot of really funny, heartwarming, you know, silly moments in it too. While it's a sweet film, there's a lot of funny things. I have to say my favorite is the getting drunk at the bar scene. That was really just fun and just something different to
I had
see
to
you doing.
work really hard. So
Well, I was going to ask if you have advice for playing drunk for actors. We're in a room of actors. Do you have advice for playing drunk? Because that was really great.
you know, the best drunk scene I ever saw in a film was oh my God, the wonderful British actor pianist. Dudley Moore, right? When he's down and he drinks and he wakes up in the morning and he is on a balcony and doesn't know where he is, and he goes through the most complex, fascinating images, obviously in his head. And that is the most, for me, the most brilliant drunk scene I have ever seen in my life. And I kept thinking about him when I was doing that scene. I hope I'm like a teeny bit as good as Dudley Moore. Because he, oh my goodness. But I also had so much fun. It was like easy. And that's wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, you know, now that I have done a couple of, nobody ever hired me, by the way, as a comedian, and I blame Harold Ramis because he put me in a film with Stewart Saves His Family. And then suddenly James Brooks says, "Oh, she's funny. I'll hire her." And now I have Adam Sandler on my side, who I won't mention one of the films because it's too naughty, but I did a film with him called Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Yeah.
And I got a phone call on my way here, my agent saying, "Do you want to do Paul Blart Mall Cop 2?" And I said, "Yes." And they said, "Well, it's going to film in Vegas." And I said, "Yes."
That's all great. Which brings me to this question from Kelly Mullins in the audience. Kelly, thank you for your question. Do you find the roles that you get now are more fun to play than the ones when you were starting out? Do you feel more free and confident?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, because once, I don't think I'm funny, for a start. So, but once someone else thought I was funny, I was like, oh.
I could be funny.
You know, like for example, when I did, the girls, the 4 girls. Well,
Divine Secrets.
no, no,
glad
the TV.
Desperate Housewives?
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're
Desperate
great in that.
Housewives.
The girls. That could have been
Girls.
Yaya's sister. Sure.
Anyway,
We need Sophie up here with us.
I actually thought I was funny in that.
Yeah,
you know,
great.
I said, "Oh, she's funny." You know. Anyway.
Yeah. The cast. Questions from the audience back there, sir.
I just had a very quick question. Have you ever in your career worked with large cats? And what was the experience?
Like a big film?
Like lion?
I did a disaster movie with.
Large cats.
That's not it. No, I've never done. I don't think I have.
With a big cat. How was it this time with that lion?
What was it like with the lion?
That was, believe it or not planned. No. They had a trainer, and the trainer was supposed to, the trainer was telling the lion to be nice to me. And then when I went over, he wasn't nice, and that just came out of my mouth. I said, "That's rude," or something.
Yeah. Spoiler
That was
alert.
just rude.
Spoiler alert.
But trust me, it was not planned. That was one of those, I
That's
guess you'd call it
hilarious.
a gift.
Yeah, well, like you said, everything worked out perfect on this film. So I'm getting the wrap-up signal. I'm so
Okay.
sad. I feel like we have still so much that we could talk about with you. You've been an amazing guest. Could you, a last question, could you just give, for the actors out here and the people who are watching online, could you just give your best advice for actors?
Yeah. I think the main thing is and I sometimes say this to students, if you can live and not do this, maybe you shouldn't, because it's really hard. It's really hard. But if you can't live without doing it, then you must do it. And create your own work, because there are so many people now that want to be actors, you know, and I mean, when I first started, I literally think there were maybe 2 universities that taught acting. Now every university and even 2-year schools so there are thousands of people, and that doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means you have to work really hard. And I have a very close friend who was in the play, the Tennessee Williams play with me. He's a lovely young actor. His name is Sam Underwood. And Sam has created his own theater group in New York. He works like a demon to get everything, and he just now he's one of the stars of The Following. He is so gifted. He's playing like 2 parts on that, and he's such a gifted young man, and he has worked his buns off. I mean, he never stops. It's 24/7. He's either arranging a play to be done. He's doing a play for me that I'm directing, and I marvel at him, and I feel like that's the people that will continue, because you can't wait around for people to discover you. You have to do it, and you just have to want. My daughter Caitlin said something that I thought was very apt. She said she always hated auditioning, and then she discovered one day that, that 5 minutes when I'm auditioning for that scene, I get to do what I love. And that's the way I have to look at it from now on. I get to do what I love, so that you don't resent the audition process, which is really easy to do. See, I'm funny, right?
Do as I say.
Yeah.
Not as
In my old age, I got
You're funny. That was funny.
Yes.
Well,
I just want to thank you for this beautiful film. You reminded me of my mother, and she's in heaven now, and she was from Kansas too. So there was just something about you that was just so magical and so honest, and you were really funny, and your connection with all the actors was so beautiful, especially Tom Skerritt. I would like to
Oh, Tom.
yeah, I would watch that show every week. Tom Skerritt.
I'll tell
Shirley
you,
Knight,
can
make it
I
happen.
do a quick Tom Skerritt story?
yes.
Okay, so I got this role, and then the producer and director called me and said, how about Tom Skerritt? And I said, great. And then I called Sophie, and she says, wow, Mom, he's really hot. And then I called Caitlin, and she said, wow, Mom, he's really hot. And I was like, oh. Wow, Mom, he's really hot.
You didn't know it yourself? You didn't notice?
But he is, isn't he?
Yeah, he's pretty handsome.
He's cool.
Not a bad co-star. Well, that'd be a great TV show to watch. Producers take note. But I would also like to thank Shirley for being here. It's Shirley Knight, everybody. And thank you all for coming. And to those watching online, Redwood Highway opens in April. Thank you so much for joining us at tonight's conversation with the SAG Foundation. Bye.